Welcome to Dawgs versus All Y'all, a weekly college football podcast where we discuss not only my favorite team, the Georgia Bulldogs, but we talk all things college football, hence all y'all. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and look us up on Instagram at SuplexDinnerClub. And go Dawgs. All right, and we're live, pal. How y'all living? How y'all feeling?
Man, feeling great, man. Feeling great.
Okay. All right, cool. Shout out to JR, the legend. All right, listeners, this is a special one. This is a special episode. Welcome to Dawgs versus All Y'all, college football podcast hosted by Adrian. You already know it's no BS coming from me. This wonderful podcast, we talk about not only the two-time defending national champion Georgia Bulldogs, but we talk about all things college football, hence all y'all. I am joined in this wonderful, what I'm going to go ahead and call our college football monthly roundtable, where I invite some of my closest friends that are fans of all different teams. That's one cool thing about being a college football fan here in the South. All of us aren't fans of the same team. You know, we have different allegiances. We have different rivals. It's good, fun times. It's year-round here in the South because what do they say in the SEC? It means more, whatever propaganda that is. All right, so I'm joined by two great guys that I've been fortunate to be able to talk shop with and, enjoy friendship. So introducing my guy first, Eric. He's representing the
obviously is the number one
of Alabama. How you feeling, Eric?
Feeling like a 17-time champion if you're going to be
Here we
doing
go.
the two-time.
Here we go.
We're doing good. We're a little nervous for the season coming up, but we got to do what we got to do to get back to Atlanta in December. So
okay, I hear that. Now, before we move on to our next guest, Eric, I want to give you a question with your introduction. What is the biggest question mark going into the season for your team?
I got two.
Okay.
Quarterback, obviously, is the number one. Still have no clue what we're going to do. Is it going to be Milroe, Simpson, Buckner, some dude off of sitting in row 308? At this point in time, it could literally be anybody. The spring game showed me nothing, which honestly makes me nervous. I don't like the fact that I don't know what my quarterback situation is going into the season. Had that same issue with my pro team a couple years ago, and I didn't like it then. I don't like it now. But I think that's our major concern. And then secondly is probably going to be like, what is this defense under
Coach
Kevin Steele?
Yeah, Kevin Steele. Coach Steele.
God, he's so bland. I forgot his name. His defenses are usually awful, and I loved playing him when he was at Auburn. And it doesn't help that we're having to replace, the number 2 overall pick in the draft, Will Anderson, and Brian Branch, and Byron Young, and Toa, and Eli Ricks, and
right.
I mean, the list goes on and on. Like, there's
it's a major core pieces gone from last year's team.
It's never really a rebuild in college football, but it kind of feels rebuildish here for us. And I hate using that term at Alabama over the last 20 years of success that we've had, but it's kind of feeling like a rebuild here, guys.
Now, listeners, if you checked out last week's episode, I hit on damn near all those points for sure.
You did.
I mentioned the quarterback situation, the coordinators, but also just to give you some encouragement, Eric. I know you know this, but Bama has out recruited damn near everyone in college football for 20 years, basically. This past year they were the number one team. They were the number one ranked recruiting class. Now, all that amounts to squat until they get on the field, as Jimbo showed us. But
Yeah, Jimbo.
the potential is there. And I've seen Justice Haynes live and in color, and he's legit. So, y'all got talent, and y'all gonna make it happen. All right, moving on to the next guest, the brother Glaze. How you feeling? He's representing the Florida State Seminoles.
Go Noles.
There he is. He putting on for him. How you feeling, Richard? How's life going, man?
Life going well. I tell you, I got to do a quick shout out to you.
You
know.
Yes, sir. Yes,
sir.
sir.
Going well.
Okay. All right. And I'm going to give you the same question, Richard. What is the biggest question mark going into the season for your Florida State Seminoles?
Can we get past Clemson? It's time. We haven't beat Clemson since 2014.
Wow, it's been that long.
Been that long. Wow. And it's been horrible now. And then we have to go out to Clemson. Yep. Can we beat Clemson? Can we get over the hump? Can we finally get back to our ACC championship? Can we finally get it done? That is, we have all the pieces. Destin Hill, he's come in. He's shown up to Florida State. We have a nice receiving core. Also got Keon Coleman out of Michigan State. Got a solid running back, Jordan Travis. We have him. We got all the pieces. A lot of talent coming back on defense. Mike Norvell. Hey, we just got it. The question is, can we defeat Clemson?
I like that. I like that. And your team in particular are one of those teams. You've had these conversations. You guys got a lot of things ahead of you you got a good pathway. It was a good decade of dominance when it comes from Clemson. It was all foregone conclusion that Clemson was going to win the ACC and either make it to the playoff or damn near win the championship, but it's not as easily predicted. And that's because teams like Florida State have been putting in effort to rebuild that program finally and get them back on track like how we all remember growing up. Because we're all in a similar age range and we do remember those Bobby Bowden days. And hell, Jimbo won the championship there. So we've seen it. So they're capable.
I guess we can claim Jimbo, and not really.
I don't think anybody likes claiming Jimbo, to be honest, man. But he got y'all a natty, so that's.
Thanks, Jameis Winston.
Exactly. Shout out to Jimbo. All right, so let's talk about the first topic, gentlemen. The Heisman Trophy race for this upcoming season. So last year's winner, Caleb Williams, he balled out. Regular season, he balled out, that is. He accounted for over 40 touchdowns. I want to say 47 off the top of my head. Counted for over 4,700 yards of offense. Basically,
lose the FSU game 1, but I want to say Jaden Daniels out of LSU.
Okay.
That's one of my favorites, the quarterback out of LSU. I have actually 2. Jaden Daniels out of LSU. Sam Hartman out of Notre Dame.
Okay.
I think he might surprise people at Notre Dame. I think, it's been a while since Notre Dame really had a true solid quarterback. And I must say what he did. I'm actually shocked he transferred from Wake Forest.
Yeah, he was cooking in that offense.
As a Seminole fan, I'm happy he transferred from Wake Forest.
Yeah, true. Very true.
So,
who's your dark horse?
Well, I'm going to go with Jordan Travis out of Florida State.
Okay.
I'm definitely. I think he has a great shot this year.
He definitely does. He put up numbers last season. He, like you said, adding Keon Coleman to that offense. Jaheim Bell also as an option at tight end. You guys have added weapons around him that can ball out, and you get what's my guy's name? The tall receiver, is it Johnny Wilson?
Oh, Johnny Wilson.
Yeah, if you have him healthy this season, man, y'all have weapons, and like we said before, you got a straight pathway to not only hopefully making it to the college football playoff, but I mean, hell, making a run to win it all you got to do is win 2 games. That's it.
That's what we need to do. That's the
Yeah.
goal. I love
All
to
right.
see it.
I'm with it. All right, so I'm gonna give my answers, and then we're gonna round back to Eric. So, my favorite for the Heisman is gonna be Caleb Williams. It's one thing about Lincoln, when he has a draft eligible quarterback, he lets the dude get busy. He's gonna utilize the hell out of that player, knowing that he's gonna be in the NFL the next year. We saw it with Baker Mayfield. We saw it with Kyler Murray. We're gonna see that with Caleb. It's almost set in stone, in my opinion. Pending an injury, major injury, Caleb's going to ball out on that team. I think he's gonna have an amazing year, and he is definitely my favorite for the Heisman. Now, if we're talking about dark horses, now, Richard, your quarterback was originally my dark horse pick for the Heisman Trophy. But since you went there, I'm going to pivot, and I'm going to say someone that we're going to all laugh at, but Bo Nix.
All right.
Hey,
I'll say this.
Listen, man. Listen, man. Let's pull up his stats from last year at Oregon. He balled out. He led an offense that averaged in the mid 40s.
Yeah.
Even though his offensive coordinator left to go take a head coaching job at Arizona State, his new offensive coordinator was cooking with fish grease at UTSA.
Yeah.
So and based on what I saw in the spring game, they've added some more weapons. Trayshawn Holden, isn't he at Oregon?
Yep.
And Bo throws that kid the ball often, and he has multiple weapons. So we know in the Pac-12 defense ain't one of their specialties. So all that means is that you're going to have multiple quarterbacks in the Pac-12 just putting up video game numbers. Caleb being one of them. And in my opinion, Bo will be one of those other guys putting up video game numbers. Now, we saw it last year. After he played Georgia, from then on, they were averaging 50 points. They were lighting teams up. And also shout out to Michael Penix of Washington.
Absolutely.
He's a really good pick too, as in stats and all of that. So Bo is going to be my dark horse pick for the Heisman Trophy. Like I said, I already knew I was going to get some laughs out of y'all for that, just because of our individual experiences watching young Bo. But luckily for him, he doesn't have to play an SEC team. So
that's what I was thinking. They start out with Portland State, I believe.
Yeah, something like that.
And then my only 2 question mark: what do you do against Michael Penix at Washington in October and in Utah, and then the game against Caleb Williams? I think that's November. So if he gets through those,
and that's another thing. That's another thing. At least I can say he has some big time national spotlight games, because USC is gonna be in high consideration. Everyone's going to be paying attention to what they're doing. If Oregon runs the table, and then going into that USC matchup, both of those teams undefeated, game day is going to be there.
Oh yeah,
we're going to be paying attention, because it's going to be a 8 o'clock kickoff. They're going to make sure it's not a late kickoff for that game. So all eyes are going to be on those teams. I honestly think, and this is my unbiased opinion, the Pac-12 is going to have the best quarterback play overall in the nation. From top to bottom. You have multiple guys. I mean, hell, that kid that's a freshman that I think is going to wind up being the starter at UCLA, Dante Moore, that kid's different. That kid's a baller. So I think Pac-12 is going to have some really fun games, really interesting games. And Bo is going to be my dark horse pick. So let's go to Eric, man. Eric, who's your favorite, and who is your dark horse pick for the Heisman Trophy?
So I'm glad we're all sticking quarterbacks here, and it's interesting that all three of us are going with a different quarterback.
Mhm.
So I've got Drake May from North
Okay.
Out of North
Carolina.
Carolina.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Uh,
He's nice.
Kid is phenomenal. I've enjoyed watching him play. I know a lot of people don't really consider North Carolina football when they think of UNC sports, but you know they've got a solid little program going on up there.
They do.
Definitely.
I mean, I don't expect them to contend for a national championship anytime soon, but I mean they've got a solid program going on up there. Um, I think May and Williams are probably the two best quarterbacks in the nation.
Definitely.
More
Definitely.
than likely 1-2 next year to quarterback needy NFL teams. I just like May's pedigree. I He's my favorite, but I kind of have to agree with you, Adrian. I do think Caleb hits the two-peat just because he is from USC. He's got all the national attention, and like you just said, the world's going to be keyed in on USC this year.
Definitely.
For a dark horse, I'm actually going to stay in the Pac-12. Cameron Rising from
Oh,
Utah.
nice. I
I
Oh,
like
yeah.
do.
Cameron. I like
I
Cam.
I like I like what Utah
That's right.
does.
Yeah.
Cameron shows poise under pressure. His drives have been magnificent. The couple of games that I watched last year,
Mm-hmm.
and I think he's got all the talent in the world. That if Utah comes in and blazes the Pac-12, which isn't an improbability,
They bully everybody.
they do.
They're that's what makes them so different than every other team in the Pac-12. They
They play
literally
good
bully
defense.
the hell out of everyone.
Yep.
Yeah, they
they've
play
been
defense and
Yep,
they run the ball.
they've been playing that style of ball since they beat us in the Sugar Bowl in 20
Yeah,
or '08. Um,
that's
but
been a
yeah, no,
lifetime ago. Damn, I
I know
remember
oh,
that
that.
is
it.
Damn.
crazy that that happened.
I
Yeah.
watched that. I remember watching that game, and I was just like, okay, cool. So we're no closer to competing now than we were 3 years ago, and
Mm.
then won a natty the next
Little
year.
did you know, right?
Whew.
Little
Right.
bit.
But I really like Cameron's game. I don't think that their offense is. I don't think they lost much on offense to the NFL. So it,
That
it
tight
could be
end,
interesting.
that tight
Yeah, the
end was
tight
a
end
Dalton
Kincaid,
Kincaid.
that was the
But
dude.
I agree with you. I hope that Cam comes back healthy because
Same.
you remember I don't know exactly what injury it was. I want to say it was a torn ACL there at the Rose
Mm,
Bowl
forgot about
that
that.
I
against
actually forgot
Penn
about that
State.
too.
So I mean we're definitely pulling for you, Cam. Here at Dogs versus All Y'all, you definitely deserve to go out as a baller like you've been giving up for Utah. So I like all y'all's picks, man, for sure. All right, so let's move on to the transfer portal. Now, this is a topic that is very divisive in college football fandoms. On one end, you have the traditionalists. That's what I like to put my quotation fingers up. Traditionalists who hate it, who say that this is the beginning of the end of the integrity of the game, right? But on the other end of fandoms, and I think both of you guys are on this end of it, you're all for it. This is college football. This is a billion-dollar industry. These kids should have the right to be able to say, hey, this situation is not for me. I was told or promised something that didn't come to fruition. So I need to hit the road. So, and I'm a little bit on the middle. I think I'm all for player empowerment. I'm all for them being able to if you get a scholarship at a smaller school and you ball out and one of these big time coaches comes calling and saying, "Hey, we can use you." Hell yeah, you should have the opportunity to be able to do that.
Yes.
But I also think that it's in need of a little regulation per se because I'm a little concerned. It's very few and far, I would say, but it's been a few cases where a kid is just jumping schools and not really meeting that kind of adversity that you would think that you want to help build, like, part of football, at least, and this is me, I guess this is me, my old man speech or whatever, but part of football, it taught us adversity. Like, everything isn't gonna be easy. Sometimes you're gonna walk into a situation where you're not the top person, and it's time for you to work and persevere. And I kind of think it's sometimes, and not every case, I'm not going to say that for every one of these kids, but some of these kids would do a lot better by fighting. And I'll use the example of somebody like Stetson. Nobody wanted him. I didn't want him as my quarterback. The coaches didn't want him as a quarterback. And even though, yes, he initially transferred to a junior college so he could play, but we got to take into account that Justin Fields was coming to University of Georgia. He wasn't going to see the field knowing that Justin Fields was coming, you know?
No.
So when he was brought back to Georgia, he was still told, like, yo, you're whatever, you're here, cool, that sort of thing. And he was buried in the depth chart. But he kept competing, kept fighting. He had confidence in himself, and he turned it around and turned that into 2 national championships. So I meant hell, including one. Thank you, Eric. Thank you. And your guy. So, no, but that's an example of, somebody persevering. And then also I have issues with how it's ultimately affecting high school recruiting. Unless you're like
That
one
is
of the
true.
big name kids,
Yeah.
like these kids that aren't getting the attention, the guys that would normally get a last second shot at a Georgia or something like that. Now these schools, these bigger programs especially, they're like, why would we take a risk on this kid when we know what this guy who's been a 3-year starter elsewhere, what he brings to the table? Let's go ahead and snatch him versus us investing. So I'm a little on both ends of on the field, but let's start with you, Eric. What are your thoughts on the transfer portal? Are you a fan of it? And basically, are you a fan of it?
Yes, I am a fan of it, but also I do agree that it probably does need some regulations. Because also, it's the same way with NCAA basketball. I know we're not a basketball pod, but there's guys that are transferred here for year one, here for year two, here for year three. Like, where are you actually committing to go to college? You're not. You're just committing to play, or you're committing to a college for a 4-year or 4-month, you know,
It's like
period of time.
AAU. It's
Yeah,
like AAU
exactly. Yeah,
basketball.
yeah. Granted, I do love the transfer portal because it gave us people like Jameer Gibbs, Jamison Williams, the guys that were buried on the depth charts that had first round potential, according to Detroit with Jameer. But
Hmm.
that's a whole nother story. Um, but I like the fact that it gives kids the opportunity to go to another school, like let's just San Diego State University or
Hmm.
whatever. You know, kid goes, he balls out. Somebody like a Saban or a Kirby look at him and go, hey, he could benefit us. Why not give him a shot? And
Hmm.
at the end of the day, that improves that kid's draft stock, improves that kid's pocket. And at the end of
For
the
sure.
day, that's what it's all about, like the love of the game and how much money we gonna make. Um,
Amen.
and Also, I see the benefits of the adversity, like you were talking about. You brought up Stetson winning a natty um, after persevering and beating Bama, but on the reverse, Jalen coming in the SEC championship game in 18, replacing Tua, getting us to the national championship. Tua coming in the national championship on second and 26, and dropping that
Right.
bomb to Devontae Smith.
Right.
Oh man.
You
I
know,
still have nightmares about that.
it's okay. I still have nightmares about that interception from Bryce, so it's okay. We're even now.
Right.
But no, I get the point of persevering, because honestly, if we just transfer everywhere, it's like a job. Like if I sit at my job for 3 months and then I'm like, all right, cool. I'm not getting fulfilled. Let me go to this place, work for a couple months. It's like, okay, well, this is stupid, and transfer here, and then transfer. At the end of the day, your resume is showing that you can't commit. So if something comes along that you are in love with, and they look at your resume and it's like, bro, you've had 46 jobs in the last 2 years. No,
Right.
I don't
Something's
care.
up. Yeah.
Yeah, like, what is, you have zero commitment. Why do I want to hire you? I feel like it's not that bad yet, but if you get a 5-star freshman that comes in, gets no playing time that he was promised, goes and is like, okay, cool, let me transfer out, goes to, let's say, Colorado,
Mm-hmm.
gets no playing time. All right, cool. Well, I'll go to USC, gets no playing time, and then it's a senior year, and he's like, well, crap, I haven't done anything. Nobody wants me anymore. So, well, I guess football's done. Let me see what
Right.
the XFL will offer. I mean, um, to me, there does need to be some regulations, but I think the transfer portal essentially is NFL free agency.
Yeah. Yeah.
But just like in free agency, you have to sign a contract. I feel like if you transfer, you should have to, hey, okay, I'm committing at least 2 years to this college,
Right.
and we'll go from there after that 2 years, whether or not it's a graduation, declaring for the draft, or hey, this just what didn't work out. Let me go somewhere for my senior year.
Those are good points, man.
True.
Richard, what do you think, man?
Well, it has benefited Florida State. Mekhi Pittman, Johnny Wilson, now Keon Coleman. I go back to LSU getting Joe Burrow. So very beneficial. Justin Fields, I'm
Auburn, Cam
still
Newton.
Cam Newton, still shocked that Justin Fields didn't play at Georgia. I'm
Yeah.
even more hurt that it was between Georgia and Florida State for him, but that's beside the point. But still a little salty about that. But
Definitely.
I like it. I say coaches all the time. They go to other schools. They say, okay, well, I'm done.
That's a
You
very
know.
good point.
Oh wow. Yeah. Yeah.
Now regulations. Yes, gotta have regulations because
Mm-hmm.
commitment on any sports team is highly important. Now, what I would do, maybe do like a 3 strikes rule. Like you can go transfer no more than 3 times. 3 strike, that's it. Because you have different playbooks, you have different vibes in locker rooms. So you transferring here, that's going to put you further and further behind. Now I can see you transfer, okay, a second time, 1 time or 1 or 2 times. I get it. But
Right.
after 3, 4, 5, again, you have to get that chemistry with your teammates. You have to know your playbook. By that time, you're wasting a lot of time.
Right.
And and true enough, I know they may not like to hear this, but you're a student athlete. I'm not saying that football not important too, but you're a student athlete, and education do
Right.
come first. So you just transfer down. And of course, everybody's dream to go to NFL. I totally understand.
Right.
But at the end of the day, you still have to show some type of commitment to a football program, to your education. So
That's true.
transferring 5, 6, 7 times, I don't recommend it. So I would put a restriction no more than 3 times. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, that's reasonable. That makes sense. And like you said, you brought up a great point. Like they are student athletes, so student before athlete, that sort of thing. All right, so my next question, I'm gonna go to you, Richard. With this new era of transfer portal, guys going left and right, which way, you got a lot of these teams that are building an entire different roster. And we're going to talk about one team in particular about this. But I think the best example of a team just being built overnight, and we've seen them in action, is USC, the USC Trojans. They were essentially one game from being in the college football playoff and having an opportunity to,
They choke.
yes, they definitely choked against
Big
Utah.
time.
Yeah. But they were a they had a shot at making that playoff. A couple years back, Michigan State. They had a really good team, and they were very close to making that playoff. I don't know how far they would go, but as long as you're in a playoff, 2 games from being the national champion. So
Fair.
my question to you, I bring that to my question. My question to you, Richard, how soon will we see one of these transfer portal king schools make it to the playoff and win the national championship? And even more so, which team do you predict will be the transfer portal king to hoist the trophy at the end of the year?
I'm going to go with my Florida State Seminoles.
Okay.
I got to give Mike Norvell credit. He turned around Florida State last year. We got 10 wins, and the transfer portal, it really benefited Florida State. I can't quite go with USC. I think I'm sorry, Trojan fan. I think y'all gonna find a way to choke again. And I actually Oregon and Utah, I don't see them beating either one of them this year. Maybe not even Washington. Yeah.
You're gonna be
Okay.
back on. Like I said, we're gonna do this monthly, and we're gonna have predictions and all that. So I'm gonna definitely take you on that bet. But
Yeah.
I like that.
And
Please
I think
continue.
Florida
Sorry.
State. Oh no, it's no problem. I think Florida State. This year really going to decide a lot. Everybody came back. Felt like we had unfinished business. The transfer portal has been beneficial. A lot of people come back. This is supposed to be our year. So that's why I say again, are we going to get past Clemson? But main thing, we need to beat LSU. Game number 1. Now LSU last year, personally, I don't think the game should have came down to what it did, but I'll take the win nonetheless.
Definitely.
But LSU now, Jaden Daniels and Brian Kelly, everybody have the chemistry. So I think this year it's really going to depend on that LSU game. That's going to set the tempo for the season for the Florida State Seminoles. But I do think Florida State squeaked by, but it's going to be a tougher game this year. Go around.
I feel that. So Richard's pick for the next transfer portal king to win a national championship is going to be Florida State, and I'm assuming very soon based on
Absolutely
what you told us. Okay, Eric, who is your pick?
Man, you know what? He might have just convinced me of Florida State.
Okay.
I mean, it's just there's not a lot of top tier teams trying to build through the portal currently, outside of like, a piece here, a piece there. I guess the most telling one, like you said, is USC, Florida State, and I guess we'll see what happens at Colorado. I don't know. I really don't know, because I don't think that they can win a national championship building strictly through a portal.
Yeah.
That's You have to have that mix of recruits plus using your tools. And just so you have my opinion, Richard, I think y'all get by Clemson, because Dabo clearly has no clue what he's doing as a coach anymore, because he's relying on God to do it all, but God, God don't care about football. He ain't playing the downs, so
Right.
and for whatever reason, Dabo thinks that the the portal is whatever he thinks it is.
Right.
He has lost his luster as a coach to me. So
Yeah.
um,
Definitely.
there was a time where I thought he was Saban's right hand man in waiting after Nick retired, and I would have killed to have Dabo at
You
Bama, but
won't touch him with a 10-foot pole, man.
nope.
Yeah.
Clemson can have him. They can play with that rock.
Exactly. All right, so my opinion, when it comes to a team actually building their roster mainly through the transfer portal and hopefully making the playoff and winning the national championship, I think we're gonna get a transfer portal team in the playoff. USC is probably my pick, to be honest. This is going to be a very talented team, and depending on the rest of the teams in the Pac-12, their pathway is a lot cleaner. Now, the question is, like we've all said, can they get past Utah? Utah has, it's grown to be a tradition for Utah to bully every team in the Pac-12. So the question is, can you bring in enough players from the transfer portal, being a USC, to not get bullied. So that's probably my pick to be one of the teams to actually do it. Do I think that they do it this year? I don't think so. I think maybe in another year, even though they've been very aggressive about adding to that horrible defense that they put on display last year. Though that coordinator, he should hit the portal if anybody. So, all right. So speaking of transfer portal and teams that have been very, very aggressive about flipping over their roster, we got to talk about it. We got to talk about it. We got to talk about it. Coach Prime in Colorado. Now, we're speaking of divisive subject matter in the college football fandom. You get so many really crappy takes on Coach Prime. It's almost insane. Like if you go on their message boards or if you follow them on Facebook, it's just chaos there whenever Deion Sanders or Coach Sanders is mentioned. When we're talking about Colorado, he said it up front. He told us all. He was fully transparent. I'm bringing my own bags, and they're Louis. As soon as we heard that, we knew what time it was. That exactly. That 1-11 Colorado team, they're not there anymore.
No.
I will admit I didn't think he was going to be as aggressive because it's something that's unprecedented that we've seen 70 players leave that program. 51 of them were scholarship players. And I want to say the latest number is he's brought on 48 players from the transfer portal. So that's 48 different kids from a different area. It's a completely different team. You can't even watch tape of Colorado last year and say, "Hey, that's the team that Coach Sanders is coming out with his opener against TCU." That's not going to be the same team. And you can argue that the team that we saw in the spring game will not be the same team. I think in a press conference, he said himself, he was like, "The team that y'all saw tonight, that's not going to be the same team that I have first week against TCU." So I say all that. Eric, what are your thoughts on Coach Sanders? I think all of us of the panel are fans of Coach Prime, and we definitely want him to do great because he's like a hero to all of us, So Eric, what are your thoughts, man, on Coach Prime? And let's go from there.
I love me some Coach Prime. The takes on is for the few listeners that might watch pro wrestling might get this this jab. It's like listening to Dave Meltzer. It's a biased take and it's a stupid take 9 times out of 10. So I could care less what 9 times out of 10 he's making stupid comments about Prime.
Definitely.
I like the hire. Colorado blew it open when they hired Coach Prime, honestly. Because you never know what you're going to get. And that's what I love. Like, are you going to get Deion Sanders? Are you going to get Coach Prime? Are you going to get Neon Deion? Are you going to get Prime Time? Like, what's going on in Colorado? I love it. And the backlash that he gets, I think, is a little unwarranted because a lot of the coaches in college football are boring. They're boring.
I can agree with that.
They're traditionalists. They want to go about the routes the way that they did in the 50s and 60s and 70s because that's traditionally how we coach. We don't want to break the mold. Right. And Deion's going to break the mold. Like 42 players transferred
he's broken
in.
it and thrown it. Yeah. He's thrown it across the street, man. That mold
and
is
he's
gone.
Going to intercept it and bring it back and then throw it away again.
Right.
42 players transferred in. I still don't know the exact number that he's transferred out, but if you're getting 60 or 70 players transferring out of a 1-11 team, bye.
Yeah,
I agree with that.
That's a fact.
They're all. I mean, obviously, you didn't want to put in the work to try to be a decent squad. So, hey, I don't want a loser on my team.
Yeah, I feel that.
I'm with Prime. If you don't want to put in the work, if you don't want to quote unquote earn your number, hey, portal's there for you, bud. Go find somewhere else that you can have cupcakes,
I
and
feel
that they'll
that.
treat you like the little 5-star you are, buddy, and pat you on the butt and tell you to have a good game. But Coach Prime ain't about that,
Yeah.
and that's what I absolutely love about it. Like I like a no nonsense coach. I like a guy that's going to be tough, but is also going to build his players up, and that's exactly what Coach Prime has done. And I mean, yeah, he brought his Louis bags with him. He brought the last two number one overall recruits that went to Jackson State.
Yeah.
Let me
Yeah.
rephrase that: the last two number one overall recruits,
Right.
not number one for Division II schools, not number one
In the
on
nation.
some
In the
random
nation.
site.
Right.
These
Yeah.
were guys that were being looked at by Georgia, Bama, Florida, Florida
Florida
State,
State.
Ohio
Yeah.
State,
Mm-hmm.
USC. Like all of these big time programs were looking at him, and they said, "Nah, I'm gonna go with Coach Prime at Jackson State." I mean, if he's got kids doing that, what's he gonna do at Colorado?
Right.
And I
That's
think
true.
that scares a lot of people
Bigger
because he's
budget.
outspoken. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
oh,
Mm-hmm.
way bigger budget, bigger NIL numbers,
Mm-hmm.
all kinds of stuff he can do up there. And he's like I said, he's outspoken. People don't like outspoken men.
That's true.
Yeah. That's
So
true.
I think it's got some of these coaches and obviously a lot of these fans in their bags being nervous.
That's a good
Good.
point, man.
I,
That's a very good point.
Flip
Which bring,
college football on its head. I love it.
amen. Richard, man, what are your thoughts, man?
oh man, I am a huge fan of Deion Sanders. The main thing I like, he's very straightforward. When he
Definitely.
came to Colorado, he told the guys the truth. Hey, I think one of the guy he told him, you're 300 pounds, you're this, and this, but you're not going to be playing here at Colorado. You'll be
Mm,
successful somewhere else. That you need that. I mean, he's straightforward. I would rather hear the truth than just somebody who's gonna pretend like, oh, you'll get playing time and he done wasted your time. Then he tell you right away, hey, hit the transfer portal. That's
right.
straightforward. I respect Dion. I wish him the absolute best. That
Definitely.
TCU game, the first game, don't be surprised Colorado find a way to win.
Okay.
Travis
All right.
Hunter,
Yes,
real
sir.
deal.
He a
Yes,
baller,
sir.
man. He's a baller. He's a
Um,
baller.
that's gonna decide a lot. I think that game's gonna be closer than what people think.
Mm,
Deion Sanders, I'm all for it. Like Eric said, a bigger budget, bigger NIL opportunities. I give Colorado 2-3 years, maybe 2 years, and they're gonna be a huge threat out there.
okay.
I know folks
Okay.
don't want to hear it, and I'll admit some of my fellow Florida State fans, oh, he taking all our players. No, that's not
Y'all
true.
should have hired him.
Right.
Well, I remember wanting him after Jimbo abandoned us, and he was on the top of my list. But
Right.
hey, I was laughed at by some Florida State fans, funny enough, but
Of
that's
course,
okay.
of course.
Yeah.
Um, but Dion, he's gonna make waves. People like you said, like Eric said, people don't like outspoken people, but hey, sometimes outspoken people they're needed.
Yes,
And
Definitely.
man.
Dion, oh man, I cannot wait. That's gonna be one of the games I watch since Florida State don't play the Sunday, so I'll probably watch that
Right.
on
Right.
Saturday.
True. True. See, I love Coach Prime because he's a disruptor. Like I love
Yes.
disruptors. Like it's something about like just shaking up the whole aspect or the thought process of everyone. And hell, you may reach high success, or you may shit the bed, but at least you just shook up the room so hard, you shook the tree so hard that something came out of it. So this is like a huge experiment to be able to flip your roster at the rate that Coach Prime has done, to bring in the kind of coaches that he has brought into that program. I think that's one of those underrated moves on his part. Uh, I know everyone's divisive about some of some of the methods and the earn your number thing, the gimmick of
I
earning your
love it.
number, yeah, and
Love it.
being on social media and all of this. But he's shaking up, he's making noise there in Boulder. Boulder hasn't been relevant in 30 years, 3 decades.
Yep.
So to not even think that that school's all in on Coach Prime, look at that spring game attendance.
Man, that was amazing.
It was amazing. And for them to already say they're sold out for season tickets
Crazy.
for the upcoming season, like
For a
you
1-11 team.
off of a 1-11 team. So he's already making noise. He's already made an impact. We're gonna see what that translates as in wins. So speaking of wins, Eric, I want to know quickly, how many wins is Coach Sanders in Colorado pulling out this year?
I got 9 wins, 3 losses.
9 wins. Cool. Richard,
I'm
how
gonna say
many
this.
wins?
I'm gonna say this. If he got 2 wins, that's better than last year. But I know my prediction. I give him 7 wins. He goes 7-5. That's my
7
prediction.
wins.
7
Okay.
wins.
All right. So again, Dogs versus all y'all. We're definitely fans of Coach Prime and the Colorado Buffs. I hope those guys ball out. I want to see Travis Hunter and Shador just do their thing.
Indeed.
And I'm really excited about the prospects on that team. But I'm going to say, I'm going to be honest with y'all because, again, there's no BS coming from me. I got Colorado at 5 wins.
Okay. That's fair
I got
enough.
5 wins, and the reason why, not because they're not going to be talented. They're way more talented than what they were last year. And like you said, Richard, 2 wins that's 2 times the amount of wins that you got the year before. But the only reason why I'm going to say 5 wins is that conference, the Pac-12 conference, is actually going to be pretty competitive this year.
Yes, it is.
And you're talking about games. You're talking about Caleb Williams and USC coming to town. Your opener, you're going against the team that made it to the national championship.
Yep.
We're not going to talk about what happened in that national championship, but they
It was over.
They made it there. They
It was
made
over
it
after
there.
the first commercial break. Yeah.
Yeah. And that team in particular, TCU, they've been active in the transfer portal and they've added some like low key valuable pieces. So I'm really interested to see what kind of team they have. But back to Pac-12, Colorado has a tough road ahead. And I mean, it says a lot. Like, I haven't seen a team be able to put it together in 3 months? Basically 3 months of them working together. That's a lot. That's a tall task.
It is.
So, I mean, I'm going to go ahead and put it out there. I think it's going to be 5 wins, but I'm hoping that he proves me wrong. I want to eat crow when we're talking about Colorado because we're all pulling for you, Coach Prime. I'm definitely pulling for you, but my money's at 5 wins. All right.
Most of those big games too are also on the road outside of USC.
Yeah,
That's what I'm
go
saying,
to the
man.
Oxen Zoo out in Oregon.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
You ain't got to go to UCLA.
It's a tough
And
task.
Utah.
Got to go to Utah. Washington State won't be easy either.
Heck
That's
no,
fair,
they not.
yeah.
Listeners down below, I want you to comment. How many wins is Coach Prime and Colorado gonna tally? Let us know. Do you think they're gonna be bowl eligible? Do you think it's gonna be 2 wins? Let us know in the comments down below. Let us know. All right, fellas, we just completed the first college football roundtable. First college football roundtable of Dogs versus all y'all. How do you feel?
Oh man, I've enjoyed this. I will be back.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right. Cool.
You know, I love talking about some college football, even
Yes,
if it's
sir.
Alabama. So
Yeah. We're gonna talk about all y'all. That's what we're gonna do here on this pod. So, Eric, let the people know where can they find you. If you want to put your social media out, put it out. If not, just say, "Hey, check me out on this pod." You know, that sort of thing.
y'all can find me most Saturdays sitting on my couch watching college football.
Amen.
On Sundays, you can find me watching the NFL.
Okay.
But all the other times, especially if you want some hot takes on the NBA playoffs right now, because my Twitter has been less than happy over the last few days.
Yeah.
You can hit me up at EJ423X. We talk wrestling. We talk sports.
Okay. All right.
I get sad boy lyrics sometimes, but other than that, I'm just here to talk sports and
Amen.
kick it.
Yeah, I'm glad that you came, man. I'm glad that you were a guest on the podcast. Richard, man, where can the people find you and your unbiased opinion?
Well, hey, you can catch me on my page on Facebook. Add me on Facebook. Hey, come Unbiased Sports Center. We try to have a good time on that show. Hey, you know how to find me. Add me on Facebook. Just hit the friend request button, and hey, I'll accept. And
Yes, sir.
definitely tune in. And I'm definitely gonna be back here. Dawgs versus
yeah.
all y'all. Love it.
Yeah, we gonna have fun, man. We definitely gonna have fun. Listeners, thank you again for checking us out. Once again, this is Dawgs versus all y'all, a college football podcast where we don't just talk about the Georgia Bulldogs. We talk about all things college football. Hence, all y'all. If you haven't already, follow us at SuplexDinnerClub on Instagram and YouTube. That is home of not just Dawgs versus all y'all, but the Life and Times podcast, which is a conversation podcast where I have random talks with other people who've worked in the hospitality industry. We talk about anything and everything. And Richard, have you ever worked in a restaurant?
I actually worked at Victoryland. I worked in the kitchen.
Did you work? I think all of us have worked at Victoryland one way or the other. Okay, so I mean, both of you guys are eligible. So hopefully we see you on that podcast. Like I said, it's just a conversation podcast where we just go anywhere and everywhere. But the common bond is that we have all worked in the hospitality industry. So we drop that on Wednesdays. Guys, check that out on all podcast platforms. And then, of course, I have to mention on Thursdays, we drop We're All Marks Anyways, the podcast. It's a pro wrestling podcast where we try to talk about wrestling, hip hop, life, anything and everything. I am 1/4 of the All Marks Pod crew. So holler at us, follow us at Suplex Dinner Club, and y'all have a wonderful week. We will see you next week for our traditional audio form podcast. And then a month from now, we're going to have fun again on the Roundtable, where we're going to talk about some other hot topics. And hopefully once it's kickoff time, we get some predictions in. We keep track of those predictions. That way we can pretty much see who really knows what's going on in this great sport that we love. All right. So once again, thank you all again for checking us out. Please like, comment, subscribe on your way out. And of course, share this with other college football fans, because we're trying to grow a community with Suplex Dinner Club, putting in work, and we want you to be a part of it. So fellas, thank y'all again for joining us. I will see y'all soon. And listeners, have a great week, man. Be safe out there. Peace.
Your ass is prepared for this shit for fucking 365 days. I think about the fuckers in that locker room. Think about getting our opportunity. All the shit you went through this week to get ready for this game, now is when you pay the fucking price. You go out there with energy, enthusiasm. Hey, nobody's going to be cautious. Ain't nobody's going to be nervous about shit. Go out here and fuck their ass up. Don't think about scoreboard. Don't think about shit. You think about knocking the shit out of them. Did you hear what Box said on Monday? When I sat in that fucking meeting, I wanted to go fucking play right then. Tore your shit up out here. 2 years ago, fuck your shit up. Goddamn pride and joy. Tell me you fuck these guys up. You go play the right way. You play the right way. You knock their ass off. You stay off the fucking ground. You tackle the fucking man with the ball. The shit's easy. Look at the right shit. Punish their ass on offense and kick their ass on special teams, guys. It's about who the fuck we are. I believe in you. Let's go. Hell no!